Taking a look now at some of our Alaska news for Tuesday, August 1st, 2017. A woman in Bethel was found dead. Police are now investigating it as a possible homicide, and her husband has been arrested. Former high-ranking military officials have describing Alaska's defensive role against the potential attacks, talking about a alleged test of the THAAD missile defense system over the weekend. It's interesting to note that national outlets were reporting that this happened on Saturday. However, in this article from KTUU, they say that the tests happened on Sunday. There was no mention in Alaska media of the test happening at the time that it was allegedly happened. Whether or not a test happened, the fact that such tests are continuing lead many to think that perhaps the THAAD is designed to protect against an actual missile launch. It's not. And this is something that this official was explaining, that the THAAD is more for deployment in places like South Korea and Japan for defending against a rogue state. If we have an actual inbound nuclear missile over the United States, they are going to be relying on the Alaska Missile Defense System to basically shoot down anything for the entire United States. Senator Sullivan says that this underscores how important Alaska is now for the defensive capabilities of the U.S. The Coast Guard has suspended the search for an overboard crew member on a Bristol Bay fishing boat. They didn't say whether it was a man or a woman, only that the person was wearing a dark green raincoat. It fell in, and no flotation devices fell into the water, and they watched the person go down. After just a couple of minutes, the person allegedly could not swim. They searched for some time, and now they have officially suspended the search. An intoxicated man was arrested after holding his juvenile girlfriend hostage over the weekend. This happened in the Soldotna area. And the world-famous Our Lady of Fátima Virgin Mary statue was taken on a tour of Fairbanks on Sunday. A couple of men were carrying the stone statue with a procession that went for a couple of miles. The Bergmann Hotel in Juneau got boarded up again. This now as they have an official, basically, order from the court to make sure that no one is living in the place. They couldn't find evidence that anyone actually was, but they've been getting complaints from homeowners in the region that do not want that hotel reopened and do not want people living in it. The Department of Corrections is eyeing beds at the Seaside in Nome for inmates from Anvil Mountain, and that would include sex offenders, something which the Nome Common Council seems to be opposed to. However, they want to get the state money. Also, a new study is asking farmers and veterinarians to monitor a bacterium among sheep and goats as they are continuing once again to propose the idea of basically banning sheep and goats from within 15 air miles of any native populations of Dall sheep. And lastly, a lawsuit against the Alaska Dispatch-News owner will continue. It's going to go to trial, and I believe it is scheduled now for March of next year. Now, all this stemming from an agreement written on a napkin. Alice Rokoff basically agreeing to pay $10,000 every year for 10 years, and she's not doing it. She says, well, it wasn't a legal document because it was on a napkin. The judge says, well, there's enough evidence to suggest that both of you thought you had an agreement when you signed that napkin. So it's going to go to trial, and we'll see where it goes from there. There are more stories that we don't have time for in a video. If you'd like to get 30 to 40 minutes of news, audio form, become a subscriber at radiofreespeech.com, and I will email it to you every morning at 5 a.m.